the Senate, President Larry Obhof and Senator Huffman.
Well, I think it's important to reiterate one of the things that Auditor Yost said, which is that this is about protecting the legitimacy of the program, that SNAP serves a very valuable function, and that we want those benefits going to the people that they're intended for, and ensuring that the people who need a leg up get it. And this legislation, and I'll let Senator Huffman and Representative Schaffer get into more details, but this is intended to protect the legitimacy of the program, to ensure that benefits are getting where they're supposed to get to the people who need them most, and that we don't have situations, as you heard Auditor Yost discuss, where some of these cards are being trafficked and used for other things. So with that, Senator Huffman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Stealing is bad. Stealing from poor people who have need government assistance is worse. And when we have folks sometimes who are willingly participating in the process, maybe exchanging 50 cents on the dollar for cash or for drugs or for other things, who are supposed to be using these cards for something else. We have a system that is collapsing in many ways. So this photograph idea, which is already allowed under federal law as part of the federal statute, says states may do this if they choose, will not solve every one of those problems, but will solve a lot of the problems. And if we have an opportunity at the point of sale for someone to look at the picture and clearly see that this isn't the holder of the card, then we're going to have an opportunity to begin to interrupt the flow. Now, what happens, or how could this, how are these things happen often? You know, when you have any sale of a product, including in the drug industry, you need four things. You need a buyer, you need a seller, you need a product, and you need cash. And when we have government programs like this, where cash can be inserted into that process, it's going to be easier for the illicit sale of drugs. That's not the only problem that's created, but obviously we've got a significant issue with that here in the state of Ohio. You know, we can deal with the seller and the product through the criminal justice system. We can deal with the buyer through a variety of things that we're doing in the mental health industry by funding those organizations, things like that. But we have to deal with cash. When you have cash in the system, and you know, there's all sorts of things that we're doing. The casinos are trying to keep folks from laundering money, and there's other ways that these things can happen. But this is one of the ways that the drug industry is able to prosper. I think that when we have an opportunity that's clearly allowed under federal law, we need to step forward and do it. And this should be a series of issues that or steps that we take in this regard. When the public sees this happening, they lose confidence in the government and the government programs. When small retailers, some of whom are my clients, so I help them buy their store in Delphus, Ohio, or Lima, Ohio, come to me and say, and give the example that Auditor Yost gave, these things are going on. They believe that that's what's happening with everyone who has one of these cards, and that's not true. So this is one step, a very relatively easy step that we can take to begin to interrupt this and attempt to return legitimacy to some of these transactions. So I was very happy to work with Auditor Yost, and of course happy that my boss, President Obhof, is here today, but also one of my colleagues from the House who's going to also carry this bill in the House, Representative Schaffer. And I'd like to ask him if he wants to say a few words.
Thank you, Senator Huffman, and thank you, Auditor Yost, so much for your leadership, and Senator Obhof, President Obhof, for your leadership on this issue. This is a benefits protection bill. There's no question about it. It's designed to protect seniors, children who rely on this program across the state of Ohio, and those with disabilities who also need help and rely on the program across the state of Ohio. Adding the photos to the Ohio EBT card program will simply make our program much, much stronger. It'll safeguard those benefits who are legally entitled to them, and like we've all mentioned, need them, rely upon them. And it'll help deter and detect criminal activity that we know goes on today. I don't think there's probably a legislator anywhere that hasn't heard from police agencies stories about, like Auditor Yost said, when these drug houses are busted, you find piles of cash and piles of EBT cards. These things are traded for drugs, or Lord knows what else, and they serve almost virtually as cash, or they're a cash equivalent out there on the open market. But I think it's also key to remember that no one will lose benefits under this program. No person who relies upon these benefits will lose those benefits, and no one will suffer delays. If there's any suspicion when someone's going through the checkout line at a store, that suspicion is taken care of in another venue. They still get the food for the needy family, and when they go to the checkout in that store. So there's no delay, and there's no loss of benefits. Those are very important points to make, because we know that children and senior citizens and the disabled across the state of Ohio depend on this program, and they will continue to be able to depend on this program. And more importantly, strong integrity, improved integrity of this program. We want to be able to return more money to those who need it and cut the fraud off, take these measures to cut off the fraud, and hopefully also not continue feeding the drug crisis that we have in this state today. We want to feed kids and the disabled senior citizens. We don't want to feed the drug habit. Very important points.